Greetings, this is Robert Stallman, and I'm here to tell you about my new release, Bach Sonatas for Flute and Obbligato Harpsichord, evenings at Zimmermann's Coffeehouse. I'm joined here by my favorite harpsichordist, Edwin Swarnborn. The flute was one of Bach's favorite instruments. There's so much feeling that's in these pieces that needs to come out, and it really hasn't come out. And I feel like Bach was always frustrated by the instruments he wrote for because they were not at all perfected in his time. And he would have loved the modern flute, for example. He would have loved the modern oboe. First of all, they play in tune, relatively speaking. Second of all, they have much more dimension and they have a richness of sound and much more possibility. Bach was a progressive in that way, and he might have thought that, well, I'm really writing for the future. I'm not writing for now. I know that things will improve. I will not be limited by the instruments I'm writing for. I will write for the ideal version of the flute, for example. And that's what he did. So these are challenging pieces even for us who play modern instruments. This is at a time when Bach was very much involved with the Collegium Musicum of Leipzig as director of the music series at Zimmermann's Cafe, which was just around the corner from his church, St. Thomas Church in Leipzig. He had been inspired for a number of years by the great French flutist Pierre Gabriel Bifferdin, who was at the court of Dresden. And it's highly likely that the first performance was with Bifferdin and Bach himself at the keyboard of both the B minor and the A major sonatas. This is a facsimile of the first movement of the B minor sonata in Bach's own hand. Also, he wrote out a full solo flute part, which normally he wouldn't have had bothered to because he wouldn't have the time to do it. But he did it, I think, because he knew full well how important this piece was, how great it was. That it was a major work, kind of a pinnacle of his work in the sonata form. The style of the piece is interesting. In fact, the style of all four of these sonatas is a kind of synthesis of the popular galant style. That's French galant or galante style, which was then in vogue. And it was not really Bach's thing. He was of the older generation, yet he was living through a time, by the time he was 40 years old or so, the galant style had really come into Europe full swing. And it came from Italy and it came from France. It was basically a dumbing down of a more complicated style, just there to tickle the ear, quote unquote. But Bach, of course, could not write a piece like that. When Bach wrote a piece, it was something that would last forever. He was thinking of the future. The B minor sonata is the largest sonata we know of by Bach, not only for the first movement, but the fact that the last movement ends with a fugue, and attached to the fugue is a two-part giga based on the first 5 notes, I think it is, 5 notes of that fugue, but in a very kind of jazzy syncopation. That's the fugue subject, which means that's the theme answered by the harpsichord. So he had the resources, and he had also the pressure of creating a concert every week, and the added pressure, in a way, or the challenge of writing in the new style, the galant style, the popular style, to please the coffee audience. To do it in a way that where he could use the popular style but still be J.S. Bach and write great music. People say that J.S. Bach is one of the most universal of all the composers, and I absolutely agree with that. I remember playing a concert way back many years ago for a convention of Russian scientists, and it was after a large dinner party, and we decided no, we can't play Russian music because we're not Russian, that would not be right. We're not going to play American music. We're going to play Bach because he's universal. And after the concert, these Russians came up to us, and one grabbed me and he said, "You know, Bach, he is Russian." And I understood what he meant. And he's universal. Everybody thinks that Bach is theirs, and he speaks to everybody. However, they forget that Bach is also very personal. He draws us into his own personal space, and at the same time, and like no other composer, he lifts us up into the eternal.